Every company wants to be and remain relevant, especially now during a time when companies and industries are more dynamic than ever. So why is it so difficult for companies to adopt new technologies, to adapt to new ways of working, or getting work done? I believe that people inherently want to progress. Most people don't want to be left behind. But there are a few key systemic issues in place at every company that prevent progression. Today, I'm going to present a path forward. In this presentation, we're going to talk about helping complex principles take flight. We're going to use a cloud usage framework case study as a way to examine that. Let's start with some thank yous. There were a number of people that contributed to the cloud usage framework. Many people at CSG, including the public cloud architecture team, engineering and platform staffs, corporate communications, and executive management. Externally, I need to send a special thank you to Jason Cox and Brian Williams from Disney, who graciously shared back and forth with us while developing their own solution. As well, the larger DevOps community for constantly expanding our thinking and challenging the norm. So today's focus is really going to be around three ideas. The first is demonstrating real empathy. 2, shared responsibility. And 3, shared purpose. We will use the development of the cloud usage framework as an example of why this works. First, let's talk about the complex principle, get a lay of the land. In early October of 2017, as part of an organizational change, I was asked if I was interested in leading the effort to build standards and own architecting how CSG would adopt public cloud, specifically AWS, globally. There were some requirements that had been laid out at the time, such as development teams really wanted more autonomy to make their own technical decisions, and cross-account or cross-organizational teams like security, platform, etc., wanted scalability, security, and compliance. Overall, everybody wanted to keep costs down. There were other contributing factors at the time. In our environment, we were very customer-focused. We were highly governed, and we were operating different business models. Our people were used to supporting multiple business models, but were not trained in AWS. We had very centralized teams. There were a lot of growth pressures. App teams felt overly constrained, and centralized teams felt overly stretched. From a technology perspective, we were very data center prevalent. We had very successfully ran data centers for 20 plus years. They were core to our business. We had just started building a private cloud, and AWS was sporadic in its usage. In terms of our processes, we were very governance driven. We also focused on avoiding failure. DevOps was really in the early stages of being adopted enterprise-wide. So now that we understand the environment, let's look on what we're taking on, because that brings a whole set of challenges as well, the cloud component. At the time, there was a lot of use or want or need for the cloud because of things like demographics, IoT, data growth, and low-risk investment. And certainly we knew that the customers and competitors that we had today might be completely different in 5 years because of the capabilities of public cloud. We knew we had to get on board. We knew that we had to take advantage of all of these benefits. Certainly, public cloud started as a reaction to what consumers in the industry needed, but it had quickly become a driver for industry and business change. So when you add those things all together, this was a complex situation. There was a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. On a daily basis for at least the first 4 to 6 months, I was asked questions like, how would we support this? Didn't we just build a private cloud? This will be too expensive. I'm very worried we will not be secure. I had the other side of that too. I'm very worried we will be too secure. What will I do when AWS takes over? Essentially, when AWS takes my job. Why can't I just do what I want? And I actually had somebody say this to me in the hallway one day. I have no idea how you are actually going to do this. And I responded honestly. You know what? Either did I. But I did know one thing. I did know that this was not a technology problem. Experience told me that. And at the time, I had done a lot of investigations as to why cloud adoptions were successful and why they weren't. A recent Everest survey covered a large number of executives with companies that had over $1 billion a year in revenue. 78% of those surveyed stated that the original digital transformation initiatives all failed. And digital transformation, for me, includes public cloud. They go hand in hand. Well, the top 5 reasons why they failed were interesting. Number 1, at 54%, was organizational structure. The second, at 47%, was governance. The third was culture, at 44%. Then we get to technology, number 4, at 42. And number 5 was communication channels. What's interesting is 4 of the 5 have to deal with people. Only 1 is technology. And the top 3 have to deal with people. So again, people, not technology, are the key to successful transformation, innovation, growth, progression, you name it. People are the key. So with this in hand, I started examining how we would do. And the structure of our people processing technology were aligned to support the existing business. And for a long time, it did very well. Certainly this is a very simple model, but it's meant to be obvious and illustrative. The point here is, while each shape has a different color, they're all the same shape. And when you line the shapes up over each other, everything progresses properly. My point here is that you have to have your people, process, and technology all aligned to gain full velocity into where you want to go as a company. So by that logic, adding public cloud, which changes the way in which your business functions in every way, the alignment would need to be revisited. And as I looked at how we were doing, we were not aligned to support that. Without considering business factors beyond technology, the likelihood of success would be extremely low. In the current alignment, our customers really came at our company in different ways, with different pressures. Cross-cutting teams were really interested in, say, scale and safety and standards because they had to go across the entire company. Domain-based teams really needed to respond to speed, responsiveness quickly, and features. That left the cross-cutting teams chasing domain-based teams, and the domain-based teams stopping their progression to go back and ask permission. As you keep rolling that out, it doesn't scale. It adds time, costs, creates divisions, and has slow to no business value. The feedback loop is too long from the customer ask to the response. This promotes shadow IT, governance overreach, and it kills progression. So let's identify the target more clearly. So companies have a hard time balancing governance and innovation. Why? Because different groups have different business pressures. This results in unnatural conflicts that slow time to business value. See, cross-cutting organizational teams, they typically have enterprise-wide responsibility. They're pressured to govern or scale their services to protect. This drives a need for mass standardization. Variability and complexity are the enemy here. Example teams would be security or platform, compliance, shared services, legal, global sourcing, and finance. I know there are others. Then on the other side, we have the domain-based teams. These are teams that have product or application responsibility. They're pressured to innovate, add features for customers. This drives a need for autonomy and freedom to respond quickly. Constraint and over-standardization is the enemy here. Example teams are development teams. Teams, as you can see within CSG here, sales and product. See, they have different business pressures, which drives an unnatural conflict to their unshared goals. A key point here is what each group wants is correct and paramount to performing their respective roles in the company. And what else is interesting is each group views their perspective as key to the company's survival, and that is powerful. So in this sense, governance and innovation have an unnatural conflict. What you need to start thinking about is realigning for velocity. It doesn't mean you have to move teams and And it doesn't mean that you have to recreate your entire organization. But what it does mean that you align people and processes closer to the customer. You have to drive partnership and shared understanding. This develops a tangible experience for everybody involved. You put them together to solve the issues. It increases speed, lowers cost, fosters shared responsibility. The feedback loop is fast, and this drives speed, business value. So let's reintroduce those three ideas because now they're important to what we're talking about. To do what I just said, you have to build empathy. This is where you put the teams together to solve the problem. You have to mediate with real listening and understanding. Identify areas of common ground to build from. You have to enable shared responsibility. That means you move the sole responsibility away from the centralized teams. For instance, security should be shared by all, not just by a centralized team. Same with compliance. You have to utilize each other's skills to improve the overall picture. Through that, you can build a shared purpose. In this, you find quick wins and capitalize on them. You enable a feedback loop where everyone contributes. You encourage, celebrate, and show value of their creations. You then use a framework to link these ideas to the tactical outcome. And so that's what we started doing. We realized we needed an analogy from everyday life where governance and innovation can coexist, and we know that happens. But it also needed to be universal in nature and easy to reference. How about driving a car? This is something that a lot of people around the world do. Well, when you drive a car, you have a lot of freedom. You have the freedom to drive where you would like. You have the freedom to drive when you would like to drive there, and what car potentially you would like to take. But there's also a governance component. Everybody that drives a car is supposed to be trained, is licensed, and should understand the traffic laws, and is monitored by law enforcement to stay within the rules that everybody understands. So it's a great analogy, but unfortunately clouds and cars aren't really a good match. So how about clouds and airplanes? If we use the airline model, we have the environment itself, which is made up of the planes, runways, the airways. There's rules of the air that you have to abide by when you fly a plane. This is defined by the FAA or the other governmental agencies throughout the world. There's the operator's license. You have to demonstrate that you understand how to operate the plane itself. There's control towers and radar. These are systems that are put in place to ensure that you are safe while you're flying. There's instrumentation in the plane to ensure that you understand what's going on. And there's radar stations to ensure that you're safe with other planes. So if we take that and we put it in the cloud model, we have the cloud usage standards for AWS. These are the rules for using public cloud in the company. We have training and licensing. This is where people can learn how to use the technologies so that trust can be built between those that set the rules and those that need to consume the services. And then we have detection and remediation. These are systems that we've put in place to ensure that people are safe and we can offer them assistance if needed. So we built a framework that eliminated the unnatural conflict, built trust between the teams, where every user upholds the collective ideal that gets them what they need. Cross-organizational teams get governance, domain-based teams get autonomy. Each side works to support and enable the other. Let's look at these a little closer. To come up with the rules of the air, you have to define some really simple standard requirements. We built them with security team. They contain configuration examples. We have links to vendor docs, and we have linked to code examples so that users can download code from the repo that will allow them to place them over their environment and ensure that they're running in a standard that is supported by the company. We also tell them what we'll do if we discover that these standards are not being followed. Most of these are not punitive in nature unless they'll cause real harm to the company, and really are set in place to be able to help people understand how to take a better path. The key point here is we use a small set of non-negotiable rules that can be started with and built on over time. I mentioned the training and licensing. The approach here is to demonstrate proficiency in company standards in AWS. We want to teach common language and understanding. We believe that greater autonomy and access requires a greater demonstration of proficiency. Hey, the more you know, the more access you get. We have core training and we have support team training, developers, account owners. We believe that education and advancement is encouraged. We want it open to everyone. The key point here is building your people through educational opportunities is foundational for the development of trust. Create an environment of continual learning and curiosity. And the third that I talked about was detection and remediation. This is where accounts are really measured against the cloud usage standards for AWS. Remediation activities are based on non-compliance, and notifications are sent to development teams directly with help from security or the cloud team as needed. Again, autonomy is important here. To build this, we used a core engine that is based around security and compliance rules and aligns with our security organization and has multi-cloud support. Typically, you can use enterprise third-class party, or there's other open source security scanning tools. I'm not going to get into our specifics, but there's a lot out there that you can use. We also incorporate provider-specific tools. This is where you target specific provider capabilities and services. There is a number listed right here for you to reference. We're also getting into future tools. We want deeper analysis via tools that incorporate machine learning and advanced modeling and visualization capabilities. The key here is to build a comprehensive usage framework. You have to have things that are tangible for people to use and provide help for them. This is where the trust is built between these teams, where there was the unnatural conflict. Probably one of the biggest things we did is we built for autonomy. We really believe in shared ownership. Platform, cloud management, and shared teams, they guide and build enablement. Development teams drive forward and provide feedback to how those services are working for them. We push for financial management to the account owners. Having accountability drives cost containment and changes the way you do development. We make everything visible to everyone. We truly want people to understand the cloud app tools, architectures, sharing feedback, community of practice sessions. We do everything we can to be inclusive. The last is that we drive autonomy by buying or building cloud management tools and giving full access to account owners. We do this so that people can see team and individual educational status, financial modeling and monitoring, asset management, security and compliance monitoring, and cloud account requests. So these are our results since we've built this up since 2017. We are responding to our business and building our future aggressively. The number of products we had just 3 years ago was really 1 and 3 in test. Now we're at 20 and more than 5 in test. Our AWS initial investment, our company believes in where we're going. Our investment has been up 250%. And the number of AWS accounts that we have in place in 2017 was 20 in 2 regions. We're at 251 globally. We're investing in our people and developing our talent. Since May of 2019, 48,000 video lessons have been completed, 7,500 plus hours of content has been viewed, and 75% of our users have been trained, and there are many professional and specialization certifications out there. People are doing this on their own time too, because it's interesting to them and because they're being enabled. We are executing on new processes that drive adoption and shared purpose. We have an internal AWS migration program that we built. There's essentially a conveyor belt to help teams get to AWS or other cloud providers. It includes all the shared teams, as well as the vendor and well-architected reviews and approvals at the enterprise level. Once somebody has gone through the migration program, they are enabled to fully run in AWS. We have community of practices. We have the Arcus Cloud application that we talked about previously in the autonomy slide, and team-based financial governance, which I also referenced. So let's take a look at the complex principle revisited. As of 2020, we've built a cloud practice that pushes decision-making towards the teams that are closest to the customers, provides a safe environment, and promotes innovation. The benefits here is teams globally give feedback on how to learn and evolve our cloud practice. It's not just truly managed by one team anymore. We have contributors from around the globe. All teams want scalability, security, compliance, and autonomy to innovate. We've eliminated the two sides. Keeping costs down is now a shared directive. Other updates for our environment? We are more customer obsessed. We're still highly governed. We're expanding into new business models. Our people, we have global AWS experts. We run hybrid support models, and collaboration is at an all-time high. Teams regularly practice full stack design sessions where empathy and shared responsibility are on the table, front and center. In our technology space, we've defined public cloud is our future. We don't believe in building products anymore, but we're building platforms, and the AWS migration program is prevalent in that. We still run data centers, and our private cloud is coming along very nicely. In terms of our processes, we have shared governance. We're focused on learning and improving, failing fast, and building for recovery, not avoidance of failure. DevOps, we are now a known, published, and industry leader, thanks to the tremendous work by Scott Prue, Erica Morrison, and the rest of the company at CSG. The Cloud Usage Framework has contributed to the overall success of all of these areas because it helps eliminate the unnatural contention that takes place between shared teams and domain-specific teams. Helping complex principles successfully take flight requires building empathy, enabling shared responsibility, and building shared purpose. The key point of this whole presentation is that while technology is an ever-changing tool that facilitates opportunity, innovation really begins and ends with positioning people to be successful. Thanks so much for listening. If you have feedback, please send me an email or notate on my LinkedIn page, tweet at me on Twitter, or leave a comment on the YouTube channel. Thanks so much.